Hello, 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 and good morning to you all. Thank you for joining me. I am Jalon Strong, realtor and owner of Dreams to Keys Realty. And today we have an exciting topic about estate planning and home ownership. So we'll discuss four concerns for homeowners in estate planning. So if you're new to me, just know that there is a link in the bio or in the channel somewhere where you can find more information about the business and myself. I am on two platforms right now. Sorry for the shaking, but I am on two platforms right now. So you can find me on TikTok. So if I'm looking directly at you, you're on my TikTok. Hello, good morning. And if I'm looking at you, you're on my YouTube channel. So I am on two platforms at one time this morning, and we're going to get into the content today. We're not going to waste any time and make sure that we use time valuably because time is of the essence in real estate and in life in general. So if you didn't already know, this is National Estate Planning Week. National Estate Planning Week this year is October 17th through the 23rd. So we are in the midst of National Estate Planning Week, which was established in 2008. And that means that it's time for us to talk about estate planning. And there's a lot that is involved in estate planning. There's a lot of different aspects of your life and how you live it that if you were to pass on needs to be communicated properly to those that you would want to carry out your wishes. And also while you're living, if you're unable to speak for yourself, there's parts of estate planning that are involved with that. So we've heard about power of attorneys and healthcare power of attorneys or medical power of attorneys, and so this is the week, National Estate Planning Week, where maybe it's time, if you haven't already carved out those things, outline them on paper where you have something as written documents, notarized and witnessed with an estate attorney, that it's time that we talk about those things. And because there's so many aspects of estate planning that don't just involve home ownership, I'm going to highly recommend that you talk with an estate attorney to make sure your affairs are established. Now, not just for you as well, you have family, you have parents, you have friends. This is the time to have those conversations, especially if for your estate you expect certain people to carry out certain wishes for you. For example, if you have children and you expect someone to care for your children, you want that outlined in your documents. If you have businesses and you would want someone to run your businesses, if something happened to you, you need that outlined in your documents. If you have wishes for how you would want to be handled if your health is critical, there's documents that need to be aligned so that that is known to people who don't know you. They're not family and they're caring for you in those moments, or they're caring for your estate in those moments. And you want them to know how you would want things done. A lot of times we hear about issues when someone passes and things go through probate. And I'm sorry if you guys kind of hear some noise from there's someone cutting grass at another property. But if you can't hear me, just let me know in the comments. I'll try to make some adjustments. But we've heard about people having issues with their estates after they've passed on and they can't, find a will, or there was no will, and it goes through the probate process. And sometimes that can be draining. There's family conflict, all of those things. So this is the week nationally where we all get to say, let me look at my estate. Let me think about how I want things outlined, and let me make sure it's clear. It needs to be clear, not just for you, not just you saying, oh, they'll know what I mean. No, write it down, outline it out, discuss your personal property, real property, your health, your insurance policies, your businesses, anyone you care for or that you would be responsible for on their end. For example, if you have a parent that's getting up in age, they may not have their things outlined. So maybe you want to talk to them about that as well. So there's so many aspects, like I said, of estate planning. Definitely would recommend that you talk to your loved ones, those that you trust. This is also a critical point for you to find out who do you really trust and who would carry out your wishes as you want them carried out. And also be cognizant of who you tell about what you're planning or what you have outlined in any wills or estate planning documents, because sometimes there is negative things that come about when people know that you will give them money, or that if you pass on, they'll inherit something. So be cautious, use discernment, figure out who you can trust, and definitely talk with an estate attorney about your total estate planning affairs. Disclaimer: I am not an estate attorney. I am a realtor and I introduce myself as such. So, just to let you know, I am not giving you advice on your specific estate. I don't know your specific estate, and that is not my role. So, there are some concerns when it comes to home ownership that, as a realtor and as a homeowner myself, I realize and that I want to bring to your attention so that you can have that discussion with those you love and trust and with your estate attorney. Cool? Cool, cool. All right. So feel free to leave any comments and questions in the comment section on either platform, whether you're on TikTok or YouTube. Again, I'll introduce myself for those that are coming in. I am Jalon Strong, realtor and owner of Dreams to Keys Realty, and I am here for all things home ownership. Whether you're currently a homeowner or looking to be one in the future, I post content on various platforms such as YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook about home ownership topics. And we also talk about some other things that could be related to other areas such as millennials, divorcees, first time home buyers, so many aspects of who we are and what we bring to the table when we are thinking about home ownership. So, can you guys hear me? I think it's getting a little louder outside for whatever reason. So, just want to make sure you guys hear me. And if you can't, let me know in the comment section. All right. And I'm going to make sure that I check for any comments just to make sure I can hear and see you guys if you say anything. All right. So, first thing we already discussed is that if you don't have an estate planning established, if you don't have actual notarized and witness documents, this is the time to assess that. Now, I'm going to turn and look at mine because I did get my estate planning done some years ago. And what was recommended to me at that time was that you get it reviewed, you review it each year, because you'll be surprised how much your life can change year to year. And you may see things differently. You may change businesses. You may feel like you trust different people differently. And so you want to make sure that any changes you feel or want in your estate planning are documented appropriately in those documents. For example, as a divorcee, make sure that you have certain things outlined so that, let's say, your ex doesn't get what you don't want your ex to have. For example, getting much louder. If you have a deed, who is on the deed, right? So when you were growing up, you may have been around your grandparents and you just assumed that this is grandma and granddad's house. But you didn't know, for example, this is hypothetical, you didn't know that grandma bought the house. And then later on, grandma and grandpa got together, got married, and lived in the house. So it's really grandma on the deed, and grandpa is nowhere to be mentioned. And now grandma, may have passed on, and there comes all this question when it comes to documentation, because that's what courts like to look for, of who is next. And does grandpa really at that point have what it takes to keep this property up? Does he want to live there? Is that what's best? What happens to the property if grandpa moves in with you? There's so many different aspects that we don't know what grandma would have wanted if it's not outlined in the documentation. And also when it comes to property, those deeds, making sure that everyone's on there that needs to be on there and everyone's off of there that needs to be off of there. So if you've gone through a divorce and you split the property, but that other party is still on the deed, a quit claim deed may be an option for you right now. And then hopefully you've ironed that out so that it's peaceful and it just happens seamlessly throughout the divorce process prior to the final decree. And then, hopefully you can avoid such things where if someone passes, then it becomes all this question of whose property it is and who it goes to and all those things. So definitely want to make sure you iron out your estate planning this week. Start this week. Start the thought process. Get someone in your area who is an estate attorney, look in your area for an estate attorney, and get your estate planning outlined. Make sure that you have what you want in your estate planning. For example, I'm going to turn to look at mine, and my attorney actually gave me tabs. He gave me a folder, gave me tabs, gave me original and copies of each document that was notarized and witnessed. So great tool to have is to put all your things together, have them organized in a way to where you can look at them annually and make sure they're updated, and you can change things out as needed. So my first tab is personal and family history. Second is the durable power of attorney, which I have documents there, the original and the copies. And also, another reason why you want an estate attorney is because you want someone who knows the laws of your area, your state. So if there's any laws that need to be carried out or looked into for your county, your city, your state, and on a national level, that your estate attorney knows those things and that they make those recommendations to you and they're outlined clearly in your estate planning document. So there's a Georgia statutory form power of attorney form that I have. I'm in Georgia and I have that completed, signed, witnessed, notarized, the original and the copy. So that's one area, okay? And with power of attorney, you can have one person that you're looking to be your power of attorney. You can also have someone that if that person doesn't step up or can't step up for any reason, there's like a backup person. So you can have that as well. Just looking at the documents to make sure if there's anything important that I let you guys know. And of course, we'll get into the topic really soon. So we're going to talk about home ownership. So also just looking at your estate planning, there is advanced directives for healthcare. So who is your healthcare agent? That's a part of estate planning. You need the original and the copies. Wills, so last will and testament is a part of estate planning. So anything you want outlined in there, which is where we get into real and personal property. So if there's anything that you're like, I definitely want this person to have this. I want this person to have this. If you have children, you can outline that. If you have siblings, relatives, friends, whomever, if there's someone that would be the next in line for something and you want to make it clear that you don't want that person to have something, right? So for example, when I was going through my divorce and I was looking at my estate planning, I'm like, if something happens to me through this divorce process, I'm sorry, sir, like you're not getting it. So that's a part of the estate planning process. Even when you think, oh, it'll be done, it'll be wrapped up, in a little bit of time, you want to make it clear throughout the documents that this is my desire. My desire is we decided we're parting ways, so the things that I've acquired are not yours. And that's how I want my estate when I, if something were to happen. So make it clear, make it plain, because in the court's eyes, they would say, oh, you were still technically married. I know you were going through a divorce, but it wasn't final. So everything goes over to him. No, that wasn't my desire. So I outlined that in my last will and testament. So let's get into the concerns that I wanted to bring up to you guys, because I'm kind of mentioning them little by little, but let's just outline them all together. So first, and these are more of questions, so you will only know the answer to these questions, and the answers can change over time. So I don't have the answer for you because I don't know what your estate looks like. And there's so many things, like I said, that are a part of your estate. So let's talk about it. Number one, question number one, or concern number one. Who could you trust with your real or personal property? So I kind of mentioned this a little bit about, if you have businesses, is there someone that can right now run your business if you are no longer able to do so? Is there someone who has access to everything they need access to, knows who to talk to, knows who to call, is on the accounts, knows how to run it? Are they licensed? Do they have the certification they need to run the business if something happens to you right now? If not, then it's possible that that business will likely just dissolve if something were to happen to you, or it will incur some debts until someone figures it all out, right? So that's one thing to note. So once we are in real estate, let's say you're investing, you develop an investment portfolio, you have a business for investing, and something happens to you, but you run your business alone. If something happens to you, do you have steps in place? Do you have documentation in place? Do you have someone who knows, has access to all of that to where they can continue running your business? Do they know how to run this type of business? Or would you need to be coaching them right now? Would you need to be training them right now on how you want your business run so that in the event something happens, they know how to pick it up and keep it moving, right? So those are things to think about. If you have a real estate business or any type of business and you run it by yourself, if it's a single member LLC or sole proprietorship, or you're just running it to try to see if it works right now, however you're doing it is your business. But if you're not able to train someone else to do it, you're looking at the potential that the business will dissolve if something happens to you. Okay. So maybe if you still want your business to be running, no matter what happens to you, you want to start training someone now, someone that you trust. You want to train them now on those business practices. You may want to bring them in via partnership, however it needs to be outlined, which is what you can discuss with your estate attorney as well, and decide, how does this business flow in a way that if something happens to either one of us, it still runs, and it still runs in the way that we honor, in the way that we want it to run. So that's one thing. And then when it comes to home and valuables, so there's things that you consider maybe collectibles, prized possessions, things that you put a lot of money and time into, and you want someone else to value that as well. So that is something that you want outlined in your estate planning. So your home. So let's say that you own your home, and you wanted to stay in your family. You want to think about who you would pass that down to, who would take care of it, who would manage the bills and all of those things. So that's things that you need to think about with estate planning when it comes to your home. And if you don't currently like own it free and clear, is there someone that you will want to manage the home, to pay the mortgage? Do you trust someone to pay off the debts? Do you trust someone that will take care of those things responsibly? Or do you feel like at that point just sell it because you feel like there's no one that would take care of it properly? So whatever your desire is, you want that outlined in your estate planning documents, because people can start, if you're not clear, if you don't have those documents in place, people can start assuming what they think you would have wanted because of really what they believe they would want in your shoes, which could be totally different than what you want at that point or would have wanted at that point. So with estate planning, you want to address all those things. You want to map out all those things, and you want to talk to those people who you would want to carry out those wishes, because they may say to you, I don't plan on living here. I don't plan on even living in this state. I don't plan on living in this city. I'm not sure about that. Like, maybe we need to discuss other ways. Maybe there's someone else that doesn't mind that. Maybe there's a relative that has been renting, and in that event, they would like to live in the home that's, passed down. So you also want to make plans, but you want to discuss those plans with the people that you expect to carry them out. Because if they don't carry them out the way you want them to, then essentially it's all for naught, right? In your planning period, at least for what you wanted. So also when you think about real or personal property, also consider your insurance policies. So who would you like to be managing that? And that could be your power of attorney, your healthcare attorney or a healthcare agent. But just be aware of who you want to be in charge of those things, because there are so many stories of how people have pretty much used these policies wrong when people don't have wills or estate planning in place. So make sure that you figure out for yourself what you would want, discuss that with who you would want it carried out by, and then get it outlined with your estate attorney so that it's all clear, it's no cloudy issues in case things happen, because we know life is life. Things happen all the time that sometimes take us by surprise. So when it comes to your estate and how you want it handled, don't let that be a surprise to you or anyone else, taking care of you or your estate in that point. So let's talk about the second concern. Do you have specific desires of certain properties? So I kind of talked a little bit about if you have, let's say, investment properties and you want those to still run, even if you're unable to run them yourself for whatever reason, whether you're unable to speak, maybe, whatever your health status could be, or if you just have passed on. So I talked about training someone who could be able to run your business if you're unable to run it yourself. And that's not just for real estate businesses, but also for other businesses. Do you have someone that you trust in that way? For example, as a realtor, I have to have a license to be a real estate agent, and I'm a realtor by being a part of the National Association of Realtors. Okay. So if something were to happen to me, my business technically can't just be ran by a relative. It has to be run by a realtor if I'm going to choose that route. Otherwise, the business just dissolves. When something happens, it just dissolves, or it's not running until I'm able to run it again if I'm, still able. So those are things that you want to think about. Is your business structured in a way that someone could just pick it up and run with it? Can you just teach them some, tactics and steps and then they learn how to run it? Or is it something that they need licensure for, they need certifications for? And if they don't have those things, you can't really pass them on for them to run it the right way. So those are things to think about. Do you have investment properties? How are they run? Who's managing them? In the event that either one of you or any one out of that business disappears for whatever reason, they're sick, they're passed on, all the different scenarios, right? Can the business still run without that person? If the answer is no, then you want to consider either training someone or being prepared for that business to dissolve in your estate planning documents. Okay. And there could be other options too. Like I said, I'm not an estate attorney, but I recommend that you speak with an estate attorney so that you get your estate outlined the way you want it, whether you are doing a living will or you're planning for other things after you've passed on. Okay. The third concern, if you own a property, who is on the deed? I kind of talked about this a little bit about the quit claim deed. If you, like, for example, you divorced and then just one of you is keeping the property, a quit claim deed could be a way to kind of make sure that deed is streamlined and that other party is off of there. So in the event anything happens to you, it's not a question of who the home goes to. You are clear about that. And I do recommend that that is discussed in the proceedings. If you're in a divorce, that you discuss that up front. Don't wait until after the divorce is final. Make that be a part of that last process of signing the documents, the divorce decree or mediation or whatever you go through last, where you sign this agreement. Make sure that you include the party will, sign a quit claim deed to prevent any issues regarding home ownership, as they agree that this party is going to retain the home. So make sure that you have that in writing and that you have the quit claim deed in that final divorce proceeding or decree. All right. But if you own a home and let's say you just own it outright, then there shouldn't be much question of who would get the home if you have estate planning in place, because you can outline who you want to have the home. And we kind of talked about that. I kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, so I won't rehash that. But let's say you're married and, one party passes on, and then everyone looks at the deed to figure out, what happened. Because if it has to go through probate or it goes through the court system, everyone's going to look at the deed. They're going to look for documents. And if you go to the document and don't see the appropriate names on there, if it's not, both parties, or If it wasn't anything outlined to say who should get the home, it's going to come into question and it could possibly go through probate if there's no documentation to support who should get the home. And we've seen and heard through years of just word of mouth or social media of how people fight about estates. They fight over homes, they fight over property, they fight over jewelry, like they fight over different things. So just make sure that you have the things that you need in place the way you want them in place. It's time to review your deed. It's time to review your, if you have a business, it's time to review your business operation documents and make sure that everything's outlined so that someone who doesn't know you, your business, your scenario, the history, all of that would know what to do. Because in the event that you don't have the opportunity to speak for yourself, someone's going to be looking for those types of things. And like I keep saying, get an estate attorney in your area that is well versed in these areas, especially the areas that you have assets or valuables, because that person can help to better guide you on what your document should look like. Because estate planning is not just word of mouth, it is written documentation. Okay. Fourth concern, and the last one I'll mention, is do you have estate planning established in a way that doesn't cause stress or harm to those you expect to carry out your wishes? So I've done other videos across the social media platforms where I talk about, you know, or I do a duet where we're talking about not just handing a property to someone by name, but considering using a trust. So when I say, are you have you established estate planning in a way where it doesn't cause stress or harm to someone? I'm saying, are you going to put them in an issue with their taxes by how you are handing down this property to them? Are you putting them in a position where they have to pay their mortgage and the mortgage on the house that you have? Do you have life insurance? Do you have would you want the home to be sold? Is there an issue where it would cause friction for them to have to respect your wishes and their own for their own lives? You know what I'm saying? So I just want you to be aware of that. We ask people in our estate planning to do certain things, but also think of who you're asking to do these things and what their responsibilities are in their own lives. Is it realistic what you're asking of them? Is it realistic that they just keep up your home when they already have one in a different state? Is that realistic? And if you want your home kept up, think about how you want it managed. Do you want it turned into a rental property? Or do you say, hey, it's up to you. I just prefer that you not sell it because it's been in the house for 30 years and been in the family for 30 years. And then, give them that freedom to decide. But you can also now have that discussion with them and say, if something were to happen where I'm no longer here and I would want you to keep the home. I would want you to do what you have to do to keep it running, keep it up, keep it nice. If you have to make it a rental property, put tenants in here, I'm cool with that. But I just don't want this family home to be sold because it's been in the family for so long. It's so much history behind it. And we fought so hard to get this home and get this land. If there's so much history behind something, you definitely want to keep it up. But you need to make sure that those that are expected to carry it out have the same type of passion for it that you have, so that you can trust that they'll do what you are wishing for them to do when you're no longer here. So think about that. Think about if a trust is what's best for your family, your scenario, for where your home should be allocated into. Think about that versus just passing it off in a will and causing tax implications potentially for the person that you're passing it to. So be, open and listen and discuss different things with your estate attorney, because there's so much that is involved in estate planning and they help to make it much simpler. And like I said, review it each year, because as your life changes, your thoughts, your passions, your desires, those you trust may change, and you want what you want to be outlined so that when you are not able to speak for yourself in any way, that those that don't know you know exactly what you want done. and that an estate attorney can make sure that it's going through the proper process, proper channels, it meets the legal requirements and expectations, and that it's clear cut for those that don't know you to just understand what you intend. Like I said earlier, for those that have been divorced, and if you have not updated your estate planning, you might find in your documents that your ex is supposed to get something. And if that's not what you want, you need to update your estate documents. And you want to do that as soon as possible because life is life and things happen swiftly. And you don't want things to happen that you wouldn't have desired. All right. So I hope that was informational. I hope that was great nuggets for you guys to take and just think on, talk to your loved ones, those you trust about. For those of you who are just joining, I am on YouTube and I am on TikTok. So I'm Jalon Strong, realtor and owner of Dreams to Keys Realty. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, posting about different topics related to home ownership and the aspects of becoming a homeowner, as well as being a homeowner and different things that you can do for your home and for, oh, you can't hear me. I guess my microphone went out. So maybe, well, we're wrapping up. Sorry, guys. But if you couldn't hear me on TikTok, I am on YouTube and I think we're good over here. So make sure that you go to the YouTube link. You can click the link in the bio and you can see the YouTube icon. Click that and you can review the live that we're doing and it will be recorded there. All right. So thank you guys for your time. Thank you for just being here. And I hope that you go through the rest of this week just thinking about your estate planning. It is once again National Estate Planning Week. And make sure that you are carving out what you want for your estate. You do have an estate, and it's not just whether you own a home or not. There's different things that go into estate planning that you need to carve out and you want to make clear, regardless of how old or young you are. Estate planning is for all of us, okay? And for those that we want to leave things to. So I will see you guys in the next live. Make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow all of the social media pages because you never know when I'll be live or when I'll post a video. And I'm picking at random right now. So we're definitely on YouTube, but I may be live on other platforms as well. So definitely check me out. If you're interested in buying a property, definitely click the consultation link from the link in the bio. And even if you're not in the state I'm in, I make referrals all the time for other realtors in your area. So that's not a limitation. We can still have the consultation. All right. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and great weekend. Bye-bye.